The building was collapsing. Flames climbed the walls. Smoke filled his lungs. Through the chaos, he saw her trapped beneath a steel beam. Judge Patricia Whitmore. The woman who had stripped away his son, his reputation, his will to live. Everyone ran past her. No one stopped. But he did. Not because he forgave her. Not because she deserved it. But because walking away would make him exactly what she'd once claimed he was. And some battles aren't won by fighting back. They're won by proving you were always better than they said. Daniel Hayes stood outside Lincoln Elementary School, watching yellow buses unload children into the October morning. His thermos of cold coffee sat forgotten in his hand. Among dozens of small figures, he tracked one. Tyler Hayes. 8 years old. Brown backpack. Sneakers that lit up when he walked. The boy who didn't know his father watched him every Wednesday morning. 3 years and 4 months since Judge Patricia Whitmore had signed the custody order. Supervised visits only, once per month, in a sterile room while a social worker named Brenda took notes. All because Daniel's ex-wife Monica had lied allegations of violence that never happened, neglect that was fiction, a drinking problem existing only in court documents. And Judge Whitmore had believed every word. Daniel had lost everything. His construction company, Hayes and Associates, closed when legal bills drained his accounts. His house, sold at auction. His reputation, destroyed by public court records. But never his sobriety. 15 years clean, continuing through the collapse. Never his dignity. Tyler disappeared through the school entrance. Daniel returned to his truck, a 1998 Ford Ranger with rust spots and a rebuilt engine he'd installed himself. The radio came on mid-sentence. Breaking news from downtown, where the historic Warren County Courthouse is reporting a significant electrical fire. Emergency services responding. The building was occupied with multiple court sessions in progress. Daniel turned up the volume. Wednesday morning. Family court started at 9. His watch read 9:47 a.m. He was already turning the truck around. Smoke became visible 3 blocks out. Dark columns rising into clear sky. Fire trucks lined the street, hoses spraying arcs of water that seemed useless against the inferno. Police barriers. Shouting officers. Chaos. Daniel parked 2 blocks away and ran. A paramedic spoke into a radio. All personnel accounted for. Head count complete. But Daniel had worked construction for 20 years. He knew that deep boom 30 seconds ago that was a support beam failing. He knew renovation projects. The courthouse had been under construction for 6 months. Areas where someone might not be found during hasty evacuation. A firefighter emerged helping a limping clerk. The battalion chief shouted, "Anyone else inside?" The clerk doubled over, coughing. Judge Whitmore. She went back. 3rd floor wouldn't evacuate, said she needed case files. Daniel moved before thinking. He slipped past the barricade during a shift change. Grabbed a respirator mask near an ambulance. Found the contractor access door on the south side, the entrance he'd mapped 2 years ago during the renovation bid. The lock was old. He lifted and pushed. It opened. Heat hit like a wall. Smoke turned everything gray. Emergency lights flickered. Somewhere above, wood cracked. Daniel pulled on the respirator and entered. The contractor stairwell was metal, theoretically safer than original wooden stairs. He climbed by memory and touch, hands on walls hot enough to burn through his shirt. 2nd floor. Flames consumed western offices. 3rd floor. The hallway had partially collapsed. Ceiling tiles scattered like broken teeth. Through the smoke, he saw family court entrance. The doors were jammed. He threw his shoulder against them. Once. Twice. 3rd impact, wood splintered. Doors swung inward. Inside, the courtroom was devastation. The judge's bench had collapsed. Papers burned in scattered fires. And beneath a steel support beam that had torn through the ceiling, pinning her legs, was Patricia Whitmore. She wasn't unconscious. Her eyes found his. Recognition took seconds. Then fear. Not of the fire. Of him. "Please," she whispered. "Please don't leave me." Daniel knelt beside the beam. 300 pounds of steel, trapping her at an angle that could crush if moved wrong. He could walk away. Everyone would understand. Instead, he planted his feet, gripped the steel, and lifted. The beam didn't move. Daniel's muscles screamed. His vision tunneled. He repositioned, driving upward with everything he had. The steel shifted. 3 inches. 6. "When I say move," he gasped, "drag yourself out." Patricia nodded, tears cutting through soot on her face. He lifted again. The beam rose. She pulled herself free, left leg dragging at wrong angle. Daniel let the beam drop. It crashed, sending sparks flying. He hooked his arms under hers and half-carried, half-dragged her toward the door. The hallway was worse, flames spreading, floor soft from heat damage. Patricia tried to speak. Why? Save it. They reached the stairwell. The stairs were gone. Fire had melted the metal construction, leaving a gap dropping straight to the burning second floor. Patricia saw it and went rigid. We can't. Go up. He looked up. Fourth floor access. The roof was 1 story higher. They climbed. Each step agony for her broken leg. She bit down on screams. Fourth floor untouched by fire but smoke-filled. Daniel navigated by memory to the utility closet. Inside, a ladder bolted to the wall leading to a roof hatch. I can't climb that, Patricia said. Then I'll push you up. Rung by rung. Her broken leg hit the ladder once, and she made a sound that wasn't quite human. But she kept climbing. The roof hatch was locked. 2 kicks and Daniel broke it open. Fresh air hit them like salvation. A helicopter circled overhead. Firefighters on adjacent buildings spotted them, shouting instructions. A ladder truck extended toward them. 2 firefighters crossed over and took Patricia. One looked at Daniel. Who the hell are you? Before Daniel could answer, Patricia spoke. He saved my life. As they prepared to move her across, she grabbed Daniel's wrist. I need to tell you something. About your case. About what Later, Daniel said. There might not be a later. But the firefighters were already moving her away. Daniel watched her disappear, then followed across the ladder bridge. Paramedics reached him immediately. Sir, you need medical attention. Daniel nodded. His hands were burned. His back screamed where he'd torn something lifting that beam. His lungs felt scoured. But he was alive. They were both alive. A police officer approached with questions. Daniel answered mechanically while an ambulance carried Patricia away, sirens wailing. He'd been tested in the moment that mattered most. And he'd chosen right. Memorial Hospital smelled like antiseptic and bad coffee. A nurse named Keisha wrapped Daniel's burned hands in gauze. 2nd-degree burns across both palms, painful but manageable. Keep these dry 48 hours, she said. Watch for infection. Come back if there's problems. The ER television played news footage of the courthouse fire. Reporters called it miraculous that everyone survived. Mr. Hayes? A doctor approached. You have a visitor. Judge Whitmore. She's insistent. Daniel already knew. Patricia sat in a recovery room, left leg in traction, IV lines in both arms. She looked smaller than he remembered. Diminished by injury, stripped of black robes and elevated bench. Thank you for seeing me, she said quietly. Daniel stood near the door. You said you needed to tell me something. Your custody case. 3 years ago. I made the wrong call. I know. No. You don't understand. She took a shaking breath. Your ex-wife's attorney, Marcus Chen, was my nephew. Fresh out of law school. I wanted to help his career. When he brought evidence, I didn't question it like I should have. I believed what I wanted to believe. Daniel's jaw tightened. You destroyed my life to help your nephew's career. Yes. The honesty was somehow worse than a lie. I knew by the second hearing something was wrong. The evidence didn't add up. Your character witnesses were too genuine. But I'd already ruled. Admitting I was wrong would have meant you were human, Daniel finished. Would have meant you made a mistake. She nodded, tears streaming. I've lived with it every day. But that doesn't help you. That doesn't give you back what I took. Why tell me now? Because I nearly died today. And the last thought I had was that I deserved it. That maybe this was payment for all the harm I'd caused. She looked at him directly. You didn't have to come back for me. No. I didn't. Then why? He thought about Tyler. About lessons you teach through actions they never see. Because someone had to be better than the person you thought I was. Patricia's face crumpled. She turned away, shoulders shaking. Daniel waited. Finally she looked back. I don't deserve your forgiveness. Probably not. But I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it because carrying that anger was killing me. Because my son deserves a father who knows how to let things go. He moved toward the door. Daniel, Patricia called. I'm filing paperwork tomorrow. Motion to vacate my ruling. Request for emergency review. Full disclosure of my misconduct. It will likely end my career, but I don't care. This is more important. Daniel paused. What about your nephew? The state bar is investigating him. The falsified evidence, the coached witnesses all documented. He'll face consequences. Good. How are you not angry? I took your child. I ruined your life. And you saved me anyway. Daniel thought about the moment he'd lifted that beam. I already forgave you, he said quietly. When? The moment I decided to come back. He left before she could respond. In the parking lot, his phone showed messages. His AA sponsor Gary. Call me now. Daniel drove home through empty streets to his one-bedroom apartment. Inside, he collapsed onto bed. Sleep came fast. Justice, he thought as consciousness faded, feels nothing like I expected. The story broke at 6:47 a.m. Daniel's phone erupted with notifications. Courthouse hero. Man saves judge who ruled against him. Someone had pulled court records. Connected Daniel Hayes to Hayes v. Hayes to Judge Patricia Whitmore. The narrative was irresistible. Wronged man saves the person who wronged him. Gary called. Don't talk to anyone. Every news outlet wants your story. How did they find out? Court records are public. This could be good for you. Public opinion matters in custody cases. I'm not using this. Think about Tyler. What do you want him to see when he searches for his father? Daniel ended the call and tried to go to work. His manager Carl was waiting outside Brennan's Hardware. We need to talk. You're famous. News vans in the parking lot. Corporate called. Maybe take a few days off. Let things calm down. It wasn't really an offer. Daniel drove to Henderson Park instead, where he used to take Tyler before the ruling. The park was empty this early Thursday. He sat at a picnic table, phone powered off, just breathing. When he finally turned it back on, there was a voicemail from Patricia. Daniel, I'm holding a press conference at noon. I'm telling them everything. About my misconduct. About my nephew. About why your ruling was wrong. I know this will turn your life into more of a circus. But it's the only way to fix this properly. Daniel sat until 11:30, then drove to Memorial Hospital. The press conference was in the main lobby. Patricia arrived in a wheelchair, flanked by her attorney. The room filled with reporters and cameras. At noon, she began. Yesterday, Daniel Hayes entered a burning building to save my life. What the media doesn't yet know is why his actions were even more extraordinary than they appear. She detailed the failures. The family relationship. The evidence accepted without verification. The ruling that destroyed an innocent man's life. That ruling was based on fabricated evidence. And I knew it. The room erupted. Patricia raised her hand. I chose to stay on the case because my nephew needed a win. When he presented evidence against Daniel Hayes, I did not scrutinize it as my oath demanded. I failed him. I failed the oath I took when I became a judge. She continued, voice steady, despite trembling. By the second hearing, I was certain I'd made a mistake. But reversing would have required explaining my error. So I doubled down. I destroyed an innocent man's life to protect my nephew's reputation, and my own. She pulled out papers. This morning, my attorney filed motions to vacate my ruling, request emergency review, and disclose everything to the State Bar Ethics Committee. I'm voluntarily recusing myself from all cases and requesting full investigation into my conduct. I understand this will result in my disbarment. I accept that. A reporter asked, have you spoken with Mr. Hayes? Patricia's eyes searched the room. Found Daniel standing behind a pillar. If he's here, I want to say publicly. I'm sorry. Those words are inadequate, but they're true. I'm grateful beyond measure that you were a better person than I ever gave you credit for. Daniel felt eyes searching. He stepped back into shadow. The conference continued for 20 minutes, but Daniel had heard enough. His phone buzzed. Text from his lawyer, emergency hearing scheduled Monday 9 a.m. Patricia's testimony makes reversal almost certain. Monday. 3 days away. After 3 years, Tyler might actually be coming home. Daniel sat in his truck, hands shaking. She'd given him back his life. The fairness of that exchange still didn't feel real. Judge Robert Freeman's courtroom felt different despite looking the same wood paneling, same elevated bench, same federal seal. But everything had changed. Daniel sat with his attorney Margaret Chen. His hands were still bandaged. Across the aisle, Monica sat with her new attorney Marcus Chen had withdrawn, license suspended. The gallery was packed. And in the front row, accompanied by a social worker, was Tyler. 8 years old. Eyes too serious for his age. When he'd entered, their gazes had locked. Tyler's expression was unreadable. Daniel had smiled. Tyler looked away. All rise. Judge Freeman entered, settling into his chair. He was older than Patricia, maybe 65, with steel gray hair and reading glasses. His reputation was fierce, thorough examination, zero tolerance for games. Please be seated. I've read the motions filed by Judge Whitmore's attorney. I've reviewed the original case transcripts. I've examined the evidence presented 3 years ago, and I've read Judge Whitmore's public statement. He paused, letting weight settle. A sitting federal judge has publicly admitted to judicial misconduct and conflict of interest. Such admissions are almost unprecedented in their candor. Monica's attorney stood. Your Honor, while we acknowledge Judge Whitmore's statement, Counselor, I will hear from you in due time. Sit down. The attorney Saturday. Freeman turned to Daniel. Mr. Hayes, approach the bench. Daniel stood, joints protesting. Margaret whispered, just answer honestly. He approached. Mr. Hayes, I want to acknowledge what you've been through. The loss of your parental rights, based on what now appears to be falsified evidence, is a profound injustice. Daniel nodded. I've read every transcript from your case. I've examined the evidence, witness statements, character references. And I'm disturbed. The evidence against you was contradictory, the timeline impossible. In short, it was a textbook false accusation. Freeman removed his glasses, polishing them. Judge Whitmore's admission confirms what should have been apparent. You were railroaded by a system that should have protected you. I cannot give you back 3 years. I cannot restore your business. What I can do is ensure justice, however delayed, is finally served. He opened a folder. Mrs. Hayes, please stand. Monica rose with her attorney. Did you fabricate the domestic violence allegations against your ex-husband? Monica's face crumpled. Her attorney whispered urgently, but she shook her head. Yes, she said quietly. Did you coach witnesses to provide false testimony? My attorney said. I'm asking what you did, not what your attorney advised. Tears streamed down Monica's face. Yes. I was scared Daniel would try to get full custody. I panicked. Marcus said if we made Daniel look bad enough, I'd be safe, so her voice broke. Freeman's expression didn't soften. You understand you've committed perjury, fraud, and child endangerment by using your son as a pawn? Monica nodded, unable to speak. Freeman turned to Tyler. Tyler, would you come up here, please? Tyler looked terrified. The social worker nodded encouragingly. He walked to the bench. Freeman's voice changed warm, grandfatherly. Hi, Tyler. I'm Judge Freeman. Do you know why you're here today? Because of my mom and dad. That's right. Can I ask you some questions? Tyler nodded. Do you remember your dad? A little. We used to go to the park. Do you want to spend time with him? Tyler's eyes flicked to Monica, then Daniel, then back to Freeman. I don't know. Mom says he's bad. What if I told you your mom made a mistake? That your dad isn't bad at all? Tyler processed this with unusual seriousness. Is that true? Yes. That's true. Tyler looked at Daniel for a long moment. He was on TV. He saved someone from a fire. He did. He's very brave. Mom's been crying a lot since then. Freeman nodded slowly. Tyler, here's what's going to happen. You're going to spend time with both your parents, but the schedule is going to change. You'll be with your dad more often. Does that scare you? A little. That's okay. Being scared when things change is normal. But your dad loves you very much. Can you trust me on that? Tyler looked at Daniel. Do you love me? The question hit Daniel like a freight train. His voice came out rough. More than anything in the world. Even though we don't see each other much? Especially because of that. Tyler nodded, some calculation completing. Okay. Freeman smiled. You can sit back down, Tyler. Thank you for being brave. The social worker collected Tyler. Freeman's expression hardened again. I'm issuing the following ruling. Joint custody is established, effective immediately, with a 50-50 split. Mr. Hayes' rights are fully restored. All negative findings are expunged. Mrs. Hayes, you will comply fully. Any interference will result in contempt charges. Do you understand? Monica whispered. Yes, Your Honor. Additionally, I'm ordering family counseling to facilitate Tyler's transition. The court will monitor compliance. Freeman turned to Daniel. Mr. Hayes, I'm sorry this took 3 years to fix. The system failed you. I hope this begins to address that failure. Thank you, Your Honor. One final matter. This court has been contacted by the Judicial Ethics Board regarding investigations into Judge Whitmore and attorney Marcus Chen. Those investigations are outside this court's purview, but I note for the record that their outcomes will be closely watched. Judicial misconduct and attorney fraud undermine the entire legal system's credibility. He gathered his papers. This court is adjourned. Mr. Hayes, you may take your son home. The gavel fell. Daniel sat frozen. Those words echoing. You may take your son home. 3 years. 1,095 days. Over. Tyler was already moving toward him, the social worker guiding him through the gate. Father and son stood facing each other. 3 feet apart. A distance that felt like nothing and like an unbridgeable canyon. Hi, Dad, Tyler said quietly. Hey, buddy, can we go to the park? The one with the big slide. Daniel's vision blurred. He nodded. Can we get ice cream after? Absolutely. Tyler stepped forward, hesitated, then wrapped his arms around Daniel's waist. Daniel knelt and hugged his son for the first time in 3 years. Tyler smelled like school soap and childhood, warm and solid and real. I missed you, Daniel whispered. I missed you too, Tyler whispered back. They stayed like that while the courtroom emptied, while reporters took notes, and Monica cried, and Margaret pretended she wasn't crying too. Finally, Tyler pulled back. Can we go now? Yeah. Let's go. They walked out hand in hand, into afternoon sunlight that felt like forgiveness, into a future that was finally theirs again. 2 months later, Daniel stood in an empty storefront on Madison Avenue, mentally calculating renovations. The space was perfect 2,000 square feet, good bones, loading dock access. Prime location for the business he was rebuilding. Margaret Chen reviewed lease terms. Rents reasonable. Owners offering reduced first 3 months. Probably because you're the courthouse hero, Daniel grimaced. I don't want charity. It's not charity, it's business. Your name helps them. You get affordable space. Everyone wins. Gary appeared from the back. Wiring solid. Plumbing's good. This is viable. Hayes and Associates went under, Daniel said. I'm thinking something new. Second chance builders. Margaret looked up. I like that. It's honest. I want to focus on hiring people who need second chances. Ex-convicts, people in recovery, anyone knocked down by the system who needs a way back up. Gary's expression softened. That's a good mission, brother. Daniel's phone buzzed. Text from Tyler. Science fair tonight. Are you coming? He replied immediately. Wouldn't miss it. Pick you up at 5. Tyler's volcano project built together over 3 weekends had made it to the school-wide fair. The eruption mechanism worked perfectly. They left the storefront. Daniel drove to Tyler's school, arriving early. The gym was packed with projects. Tyler's volcano occupied table 17. He wore a lab coat too big and safety goggles that kept sliding. Dad. He waved enthusiastically. Tyler performed the demonstration with practiced confidence. The volcano erupted on cue. Spectators applauded. A judge marked her clipboard and moved on. Think we'll win? Tyler asked. Win or lose, we built something cool together. That's what matters. Tyler nodded. Then, quieter. I'm glad you could come. Mom couldn't make it. I'm sure she wanted to. She's busy with her new job. The one that doesn't pay as much. Monica had faced consequences too. Her perjury hadn't resulted in criminal charges. Daniel had declined to press them, but her reputation was damaged. She'd lost her marketing position, now worked retail management. That's hard for her, Daniel acknowledged. But she's working through it. People can change, buddy. Like you changed? I didn't change. I just had to wait for the truth to come out. Tyler considered this. Is the judge lady still a judge? No. She resigned. The ethics board was going to remove her, but she stepped down first. Is she okay? The question surprised Daniel. Tyler could resent Patricia, but instead he was concerned. I think so. She's teaching now. Law school classes about ethics and professional responsibility. Is that good? I think it is. She's using her mistakes to help others not make the same ones. Tyler nodded. That's what you're doing too, right? With the new company? Exactly like that. The science fair concluded. Tyler's volcano earned honorable mention respectable. He beamed anyway. They celebrated at Mario's Pizza. Tyler talked about school, about normal 8-year-old concerns that had nothing to do with custody battles or judicial misconduct. Normal. They were building normal. Afterward, Daniel dropped Tyler at Monica's her custody night. Tyler hugged him without hesitation. See you Wednesday. See you Wednesday, buddy. Daniel drove to his new 2-bedroom apartment. Inside, he made coffee and opened his laptop. Email from Patricia waited. Daniel. The Judicial Ethics Board completed its investigation. I've been formally disbarred, effective immediately. I've accepted a teaching position at State Law School. It's strange, teaching ethics after violating them so profoundly. But the dean believes I have valuable lessons to offer the cautionary tale kind. I've established a fund for victims of judicial misconduct. It's seeded with my retirement account and will provide legal support for people fighting wrongful rulings. I hope it prevents future harm. I want you to know that I think about you and Tyler often. About your grace throughout this nightmare. About the man you proved yourself to be. You saved my life, but more than that, you showed me what integrity actually looks like. I don't expect forgiveness or friendship. I just wanted you to know that your actions changed how I think about justice, redemption, and accountability. I hope life is treating you well. You've earned every good thing coming your way. Patricia. Daniel read it twice. Thought about responding, but couldn't find adequate words. Instead, he filed it and moved to other messages, quotes for construction equipment, responses to his job postings, a note from his landlord. The business of moving forward. Gary called. You watching the news? No. Why? Turn on Channel 7. The local news covered judicial reform legislation inspired by recent high-profile misconduct cases. The screen showed file footage. The courthouse fire, Daniel being led away, Patricia's press conference. This is good, Gary said. Real change, coming from what happened. Maybe. Not maybe. Definitely. You started something, brother. After Gary hung up, Daniel watched until coverage moved to weather. Started something. He supposed that was true. But the ripples that mattered most were smaller, more personal. Tyler sleeping soundly in a home where both parents loved him. Monica slowly rebuilding her life, and learning to co-parent honestly. Patricia teaching the next generation how to avoid her mistakes. Daniel himself, starting a business built on second chances. Small ripples. Quiet changes. Nothing dramatic. But real. Lasting. Good. Daniel went to bed in the apartment that finally felt like home. Tomorrow he'd sign the lease. Next week he'd start hiring. Next month he'd take Tyler to Second Chance Builders, show him the space, explain what they were building. Not just construction projects. Something bigger. Proof that people could change. That systems could improve. That doing the right thing mattered. Daniel fell asleep easily, dreamlessly. At peace. The Henderson Park big slide looked different from this angle. Daniel watched from the parent bench, as Tyler, now 10 years old, all gangly limbs and growing confidence, raced up the ladder without hesitation. No fear. No need for support. Just a kid being a kid on a Saturday morning. Monica sat beside Daniel, coffee in hand, comfortable in a way that had taken 2 years to build. Their relationship would never be romantic, too much damage. But they'd learn to be partners in Tyler's life. That was enough. He's gotten so big, Monica said. He has. And confident. He wasn't like that before. Before. They referenced that time period without specifics. Before the truth. Before the hearing. Before everything changed. You've done good work, Monica added quietly. With him. With your business. With everything. You've done good work too. The therapy. The co-parenting. Taking accountability. I had to. I couldn't keep being the person who destroyed everything. Tyler came running over, breathless and grinning. Did you see? I went down backwards. Very impressive, Daniel said. Can we get ice cream? And can Mom come? Daniel looked at Monica. You have time? I'd like that. They walked to the ice cream shop 3 blocks away. Tyler ordered chocolate vanilla swirl. Monica got strawberry. Daniel stuck with vanilla bean. They ate at an outside table despite November chill, watching leaves tumble across sidewalks. Dad, is Mrs. Whitmore coming to the thing on Monday? Tyler asked. The dedication ceremony? Yes, she'll be there. Will there be a lot of people? Probably. The mayor's making it kind of a big deal. Monday marked the official opening of the Hayes Whitmore Foundation for Judicial Accountability. A nonprofit Daniel and Patricia had co-founded to provide legal support for families fighting wrongful custody rulings. The partnership had surprised everyone, Daniel included. But it worked. Patricia's legal expertise and financial contribution combined with Daniel's lived experience and community connections. Together, they'd helped 11 families over 18 months. Will I have to give a speech? Tyler asked nervously. No. That's me and Patricia. You just need to show up and look handsome. Tyler relaxed. Okay. I can do that. After ice cream, Monica drove Tyler to her apartment. Daniel drove to the construction site, where Second Chance Builders was finishing a community center renovation. The crew was small, 6 employees, all with complicated pasts, who needed opportunity more than judgment. James, ex-military with PTSD. Robert, recovering addict 7 months sober. Sarah, formerly incarcerated for check fraud, now his most reliable project manager. Boss. Sarah called from scaffolding. You seeing this trim work? Robert's got skills. Daniel climbed up to inspect. The work was excellent, precise joints, clean lines, professional grade. This is beautiful, Daniel told Robert. Robert, a man of few words, nodded. Learned it in prison. Shop class. Well, it shows. This is contractor-grade work. Robert's face flushed with pride. Men who'd been told they were worthless responded powerfully to genuine recognition. Before leaving, Sarah pulled him aside. I got the acceptance letter. Community college. Business management program. Sarah, that's fantastic. I couldn't have done it without the flexible schedule. And the recommendation letter. You earned it. Maybe. But you gave me the chance to prove it. That matters. Daniel locked up the site. His phone rang. Patricia, are you ready for Monday? She asked. As ready as I'll be. You? Nervous. Public speaking has gotten harder since. Everything. Since losing her judgeship. Since becoming the cautionary tale. You'll be fine. Just tell the truth. That's what people want to hear. The truth about how I failed? The truth about how you fixed it. There's a difference. Patricia was quiet. Daniel, I need to ask you something. And I want an honest answer. Okay. Do you actually forgive me? Or do you just work with me because it's the right tactical move? Daniel thought about this question, asked in various forms dozens of times. The answer had evolved over 2 years. At first, I worked with you because it made strategic sense. Your legal knowledge, your connections, your resources, we needed those. And now? Now I work with you because I respect what you're building from your mistakes. You could have disappeared after disbarment. Instead, you're using your experience to prevent future harm. That takes courage. That's not the same as forgiveness. No, Daniel agreed. But forgiveness isn't an on-off switch. It's a process. And I'm further along that process than I was 2 years ago. Patricia absorbed this. That's fair. More than fair. Thank you for your honesty. They discussed Monday's logistics, then ended the call. Daniel drove home through familiar streets, past the courthouse rebuilt now, reopened last month, past the hospital where he'd first heard Patricia's confession. At home, he found a package. Inside was a book, Judicial Ethics in Practice, authored by Patricia Whitmore. He flipped to the dedication. For Daniel Hayes, who taught me that integrity isn't something you talk about, it's something you do when no one's watching and everything is burning down around you. He set the book on his coffee table. Made dinner. Sat in evening quiet. His phone showed a text from Tyler. Good night, Dad. Love you. Daniel replied, love you too, buddy. See you Wednesday. 2 years ago, those exchanges had felt impossible. Now they were routine. That transformation from impossible to routine represented more victory than any headline ever could. Monday arrived with gray skies threatening rain. The dedication ceremony was scheduled for 11 a.m. at the foundation's new office. 30 people attended. The mayor gave a speech about reform. Patricia spoke about accountability. Daniel kept his remarks brief. This foundation exists because the system failed me, and because Judge Whitmore had the courage to admit that failure publicly. Neither should have been necessary. But they were. And now we're working to make sure fewer families go through what mine did. He looked at Tyler in the front row between Monica and Gary. My son asked once why I saved someone who'd hurt me. I gave him a philosophical answer about integrity. But the real answer is simpler. I saved her because that's who I want to be. The kind of person who helps people who need help, regardless of history. The kind of father my son deserves. Light applause. The mayor cut a ribbon. People toured the office. Afterward, Patricia pulled Daniel aside. The State Bar Association contacted me. They want to use our foundation model in 3 other states. That's incredible. It is. We're making real change, Daniel. Systemic change. They stood watching people network. 2 people who'd been enemies, then survivor and saved, then partners in reform. Can I tell you something? Patricia asked. Sure. I think about that moment in the courthouse every day. When you lifted that beam. When you could have walked away but didn't. She looked at him. That moment saved my life. But it also saved me. Does that make sense? It does. I was so certain of my own righteousness before that. You showed me how wrong I was. How dangerous that certainty can be. The world needs people willing to admit they're wrong, Daniel said. You're doing that. It matters. Patricia smiled, tired, genuine. Thank you. For everything. For saving my life, yes. But more for showing me how to live it better afterward. The ceremony ended. Daniel drove home with Tyler, who chattered about the event, about school, about normal things. Normal kid conversations. Normal dad responses. The life they'd rebuilt, one ordinary day at a time. That night, after Tyler went to bed, Daniel sat on his balcony with coffee and looked at city lights. His phone buzzed with congratulations texts. Gary, proud of you, brother. Margaret, you've come so far. Sarah, boss, you're changing lives. Thanks for starting with mine. Daniel responded to each, then set the phone aside. He thought about the journey from that burning courthouse to this moment. About choices made in crisis that rippled into transformation. About forgiveness as process rather than event. About how being right was less important than being good. The city hummed below, full of people making choices that would define them. Some would choose anger, some revenge. Some the harder path of mercy and rebuilding. Daniel had chosen his path. While it hadn't been easy, while it had cost everything before slowly giving pieces back, he wouldn't change it. Because Tyler slept safely down the hall. Because Second Chance Builders was helping people rebuild lives. Because the foundation was preventing future families from suffering what his had endured. Because choosing to lift that beam, to save that life, to be better than circumstance demanded that choice had made him into someone he was proud to be. And that, ultimately, was the only victory that mattered. Daniel finished his coffee. Went inside. Checked on Tyler one last time, the boy sleeping soundly, peacefully, securely. Then Daniel went to bed in the home they'd built together. At peace. Finally, completely, at peace.